Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to have fun with sequins, and I'm going to show you some ways to make some fun little sequin packets that you can add to your cards, or you can make some cute little bookmarks like I have here, and it is so much fun. The stamps I'm using are from our sponsor, TopFlightStamps.com. Use a coupon code thefrugalcrafter10 to save 10% on your next order, and orders over $50 ship free within the United States. Top Flight Stamps finds the best stamps from all over the globe and brings them to you. I'm using stamps today from Carabel Studios and also Crafty Individuals. So without further ado, let's go to the table and I'll show you how to make them. I didn't know exactly what I was going to make when I started off this project today, but I knew I wanted to do something for Valentine's Day and I wanted to use sequins. So I'm starting off by stamping some cute little birds, wings, hats, and hearts from Carabel Studios with Memento ink on smooth white cardstock, and I also stamped a couple botanical images from Crafty Individuals. I figured this would be something fun to color with my alcohol pens, and that's why I used Memento ink. If you want to see slower tutorials of me coloring with alcohol pens, I have more tutorials like that on my channel, and I'll link a playlist below so you can find that. I basically just used a variety of pens from different brands to color in these different elements. Now, as I mentioned before, the ink pad I used was Memento, and I used Tuxedo Black for the images I was coloring. And you can use any of the Memento inks, though they'll work really well with your alcohol pens. And the cardstock that I'm using is Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. I get asked a lot about the cardstock, and it does seem to matter a bit. I mean, most smooth cardstocks will be fine to use, but if you want to have something that's going to blend really well, I do like the Neenah Classic Crest, and it's only about 15 cents a sheet if you buy it in the ream like I do, or you know, you can get it individually some places like copy shops sometimes. So here I am just kind of layering and blending color until I get everything colored the way that I like. I find it saves time, and it's also a lot of fun if you print out or stamp out a bunch of images that you want to color on one big piece of cardstock, and then you can take your time sitting in front of the TV and coloring, or you know, just kind of pick away at it while you're waiting to pick up kids from practice and whatnot. It's a great way to enjoy your crafts on the go, and it's a lot of fun too. It's just like being a kid and coloring in a coloring book. Okay, now we're going to slow things down because this is a new technique that I'm going to show you. I think I've done it once before a couple of years ago, but I thought it was just kind of a fun technique that would be great to dig out again. What I have here is an ordinary office supply store page protector, and I'm going to make little shaker packets using a wood burner tool. Now, you may have a fuse tool, which is kind of the new fancy one that has been out for the last couple of years for scrapbookers to make these little pockets with, but you don't have to have one of those. So what I'm doing here is putting my two little colored botanical images. I think they came out really nice. I colored them the exact same way I did that bigger one I showed you at the end, and I'm using an old chessboard as my work surface. Those glass game boards, like the glass chessboards, are tempered glass, so they are more than capable of handling the heat of a wood burning tool. So I'm using a metal ruler, and I am slowly dragging the wood burning tool, and I'm using the fine detail tip there across the metal ruler. For whatever reason, having the metal ruler there makes it separate and seal the packets a lot better than doing it freehand, and you'll see that in a bit. Anytime I want to do a freehand curve, I do seem to have to tape it up, but if I'm going straight against a ruler, I get it separated and sealed in one go. So now I want to make the little individual packets for each of my little bookmarks here. We do a lot of reading in our house, and we all seem to prefer the paper books more than reading on a tablet, and I think that's because I don't know, I get distracted by email and YouTube and all sorts of things if I'm trying to read on a tablet. So reading paper books works much better for me and the kids too. So we always need bookmarks. So that's what we're going to do for our first project here. Now notice the speed that I'm going here, not too fast. It's kind of slow, and that's just separating and sealing, because otherwise you might have some gaps. And you might have to play with that a little bit if your wood burner is hotter or cooler than mine is. And that's how you make the little packet. You want to make one for each of those bookmarks. I realized that my marker bled through on the back of my bookmark piece, so I'm going to actually mount that on a piece of scrapbook paper so I have the pretty paper showing out, and then just trim that, and that way my bookmark will be as pretty from the front side as the back side. And you want to do that for both of your little bookmark pieces. Then just slide those little bookmarks back in the little sleeves you made. Now, of course, you could have saved time by just backing them to begin with, but I wasn't that smart at the beginning. And then you're going to fill each of the little bookmarks with sequins. And because of the pattern paper that you put on the back, it's going to be pretty whichever side you see. And I like to have the sprinkles on both sides of the bookmark just so it's, you know, got that little bit of sparkle on either side. To finish it up, you're going to seal the ends the same way you did on the sides of the packet, and then you can insert an eyelet and add a tassel and finish it that way, or you can just leave it sealed up, and that's pretty just as it is. Now we're going to use the same technique to make an interactive layer on our cards, and we're actually going to make a clear card, which is really fun. So what I'm doing is the same thing, putting just a piece of scrap green paper into my page protector here, and I'm going to seal up a pocket. And I just kind of cut a curvy line on that scrap of green just so it looked kind of like a rolling hill, because I wanted a rolling hill kind of, I guess, in a landscape. And like I said before, I have really good luck when I use the ruler to make my packet, because it seems to cut and seal. Now you're going to see where I have a little bit of a problem trying to freehand cut. So right now I got my packet made, so I'm going to fill it with my sequins. The sequins are in, and it's time to seal the bag, and this is where I had some issue. Now, honestly, if I had to do it again, I would just trim it with scissors and I would tape it with clear tape, or I would just go straight across with my ruler and the heat tool. I find that when I freehand on a curve like this, it does not want to seal the bag up all the way. I get little gaps where the sequins can fall out, and even though it seems to be sealed well enough right now, you're going to see in a little bit where the sprinkles kind of fall out, and I end up having to tape it. Something else I learned about working with the page protectors is that they are kind of non-stick. It's really difficult to get your dry adhesive to stick to the plastic there, and you'll see I'm trying to use my double stick tape here, and it's really tough to get it to want to stick to that paper. It will hold it, but you need to put your adhesive down on the substrate that you're adhering it to, like this acetate. The acetate will take the double-sided tape just fine. That acetate is by American Crafts, and it was in a 6x6 paper pad. It's also available in 12x12 in a larger print if you are interested in that. I do believe it's still available, and it's pretty fun to play with. So now I'm arranging the objects on the acetate, and the nice thing about the acetate, I have to say, is that you can peel up things and move them around. Not that I ever have to do that. You're going to see my bird's not going to end up in the same place when we get to the end of this card. This acetate had a kind of tear off strip at the top. I like to leave that intact when I'm using it, just in case I need a place to handle it from, or in case I need that little extra space for adhering. I scored a line for folding at the top of the acetate, and I'm going to show you how I just attach it to a piece of A2 size cardstock. So it's just a piece of cardstock that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to adhere the acetate to the back of the cardstock. So the front of the card is going to be, you know, really pretty. You're not going to be able to see the adhesive. On the back of the card, you're just going to see that strip of polka dot acetate, which I think is kind of a pretty design element. And I just like it because you don't see the adhesive, and it just looks really seamless. And don't be alarmed if you see a few sequins fall out of my packet, because clearly I still have some little holes there. Now, because the front of the card is clear, anything you do to the inside of the card is going to show through. And I was just kind of playing with this heart shape to see if there was anything I could do on the inside that would kind of look neat as it was seen through the outside of the card. And so I positioned this so that the wing would kind of show up behind the bird. I thought that might kind of give a little bit of an interest. I'm not sure if it's better if I just left it alone or if I added this or not, but you can make that choice for your own card. You can even make that packet with a shaker element larger if you want to have a bigger area that you could write or hide another image that wouldn't be visible from the front. So you have a lot of creative choices here, depending on what you use that are like for opaque media on the front of your card. To fix my sequin spilling problem, I grabbed some clear tape and I just taped up that curved edge, any of the little gaps where the sequins are falling out. Luckily, it's pretty seamless. You can't really see the tape, and the fact that it was plastic, adhered to plastic, it peeled up really well, and I was able to reposition it back on my card. Moving along to my final card, I did this the exact same way pretty much. I put the little panel that I'd colored inside of a page protector, and since each pocket kind of seals itself up as we go, you end up with just this infinite amount of pockets, and you really don't waste very much for this project, which is nice. And the page protectors are really inexpensive at any office supply store or department store, so you can really make a lot of these for very little money. So like I mentioned before, use your ruler to seal it up. It'll give you a better sealing than freehanding it. I think it's because you press it down. I bet if you had like a metal French curve, then you could seal like curves really well. And now I'm just dumping in some of this pretty sequin mix that was by Stampin' Up! A few years ago. It's no longer available, but it's such a, like, it's sparkly, but it's not like gaudy assortment, so I wanted to use that. And now I'm just going to seal this packet up nice and close to the paper so that I just have a nice trim rectangle shaker pocket. I had looked in my stash of metal charms and tags to try to find a Valentine's sentiment, but I couldn't find any. So what I did was I stamped out a Happy Valentine's Day and an I love you on some cardstock and just inked the edges. I knew I'd use one on each of the cards, but I wasn't quite sure which first, so I thought I'd just have those ready and set them to the side while I went on to decorating this card. I realized a small I love you sentiment would be perfect for that first card we did, so I glued that down along with a big dahlia resin piece that I made years ago. So that first card is done now, and I think it is just adorable. But we're working on the second card now. I kind of jump around a bit when I'm crafting on my own. Sometimes I forget I'm doing a video and I really should do things in order. So what I did was I adhered a doily to the front of this pre-embossed punch card base that I had, and I took a piece of my hand-dyed seam binding and I'm just tying that around the top in a bow. And that reminds me, I need to make some more crinkle seam binding because I was like really running low and I really love to use this. And to make it, all you do is take white or natural seam binding, color it with your reinkers or spray inks, scrunch it up and let it dry, and you get the most beautiful textured ribbon that you can use on your projects. So now I'm just kind of playing with the placement here and deciding where I want everything to go. I adhered the shaker panel down with my regular ATG adhesive, and I used my ever trusty foam squares to put down the sentiment. I also went ahead and grabbed some buttons because I felt like this really needed a homespun touch, and I thought buttons would be a really good embellishment option for this. Clustering your embellishments together looks really chic, so what I'm doing here is just tucking my embellishments underneath my sentiment and alternating teal and red buttons, and I think it gives it a really nice look and it helps ground my card. For a final touch, I put a big button at the top of my card, and I kind of use that to kind of anchor the seam binding down as well so that ribbon wasn't going to slip. And I punched a couple tiny red hearts from cardstock using a hand punch that I've had probably for about 15 years and adhered a couple of those to the card. And it just goes to show you those embellishments, those punches, those tools that you've had kicking around can come back in style. Just, you know, hang on to them. Hearts are a basic shape that's never going to go out of style. People just kind of forget to use those old tools sometimes, I think. And look at different supplies with new eyes. The card base there came from a Christmas card making kit, but I thought it was perfect for Valentine's Day. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and you check out our sponsor, topflightstamps.com, and use the coupon code thefrugalcrafter10 to save 10% on your order. I'll have links to all of the products that I used in the video description so you can find them. And if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, because that really helps my videos get found by other crafty folks. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.